Expecting a bit of music, actually, but next time.
So I'd like to move precedence of business, agree that item 12, service property optimisation, be accorded precedence at this time.
Was that Julie?
Seconded, Councillor Fletcher, thank you. All those in favour? Aye. It's carried, thank you. And so, David.
Morning, Madam Chair.
Welcome.
I'm accompanied by Alan McGregor, who's joined us recently.
Yes.
He was going to sing our company song, but we thought it would be a bit of a disappointment after that last one.
We do hope you're in tune with us, David.
Yeah.
Come on, David.
Yeah. So, councillors, I thought in just giving a brief introduction to this item, it will be useful to put up an overhead that appears on the screen there, because what we're talking about today is an evolution of current financial practices with property, which we've called optimisation, and we want to get your approval to that and also understand, as we do so, the difference between it and the asset sales program, which is another important financial policy and commitment you have, and indeed in the LTP those targets have been strengthened through the 10-year period. So under the general umbrella, which I guess is our mission of creating value from property assets, and value is a concept in our setting that reaches beyond simply financial, because it goes into the use of property, in that the overwhelming majority of property held by the council is for a purpose of use for services rather than financial return. But obviously we have to remain acutely aware of the financial value tied up in property. So value in its broadest sense. And then we're saying there are two kind of streams as we see it going forward. Firstly, there is asset sales, which is what you're largely familiar with. And just to sort of give you a recap of the key features of that, asset sales have involved non-service sites. That is us coming to you with sites that don't have a funded council service on them. And over the last few years, we've brought about $200 million worth of property here that's in that category for you to clear. And it's important to realise that that not only provides the revenue for the asset disposal financial targets you have in the LTP, which are important because they help fund your other capital programs. But the second thing they obviously do is they provide us with development sites. So an increasing number of our sites, we don't just get cleared for sale and take out and sell them. We're increasingly looking on sites that are meet certain criteria to achieve particular development outcomes, whether it's more intensive housing style, some kind of sensitivity to town centre regeneration objectives. And the other thing we're keenly aware of is getting commitments around the timing of development, because we don't just want to kind of feed land banking, which is a big enough problem as it is. So the asset sales program will continue, and in fact needs to be enhanced as we go forward, because obviously you're looking for a more significant contribution over the next 10 years from that non-service property sales to help fund the program you've committed to in transport and community infrastructure. Now, to contrast that, the paper today is getting approval for what we're calling optimisation. You can potentially call it different things. But the start point in differentiating it is it involves service property. So we're talking with this initiative about property which has a funded service on it today, but where the local board basically agrees that the properties are being underutilised. Now, our sense is there's quite a lot of underutilised property. And what I mean by that is a range of potential things, and I'm sure some of these will resonate with you. We have, in many parts of the city, quite poorly configured parks. I mean, that's not a statement coming from ACPL, that's what your parks people will tell you. We have facilities that are perhaps poorly utilised because of their location or their condition, where other community facilities that might be quite well used but which are dated and on large sites that are capable of redevelopment outcomes. So the suggestion with this initiative, which would be working with local boards, I mean it's not proposed to be compulsory, is looking at some of those underutilised sites and coming up with business cases, development packages if you like, that look at improving service outcomes by some combination of redeveloping sites and or the sale of some sites, with all the money being recycled in that local board area for other community and parks assets. So at its very essence, it is a simple concept. It is really saying we have a bunch of sites historically with services from them. Over time, a lot of those sites are not really fit for purpose in the context of other things you could do in that local area with the money in the community and park space. Why don't we collectively become more relaxed about recycling that money around to get better outcomes rather than just leave everything kind of frozen in the status quo, which tends to be everyone's default option at the moment. So really we're trying to get away from a lot of those sterile arguments about closing stuff down or selling a park and the money disappears from the community and all those things we're familiar with, and instead engage in a more constructive debate that takes more account of the fact we have limited resources and lots of needs with growth in the city. We collectively should have a responsibility to get the most value we can out of how service property assets are used. And if it involves maybe selling one site to put the proceeds into getting a better community facility on another, or redeveloping a site to put some levels of apartments above it, you know, there's endless possibilities with this concept. Now, just a few other comments about it. It doesn't involve transport assets. They will continue to be used for asset sales. So this is around community, you know, lifestyle parks assets that are in the local board's domain. We're also suggesting that the local boards have to reprioritise the money into projects that have been identified through some proper organisational process. So it could be stuff that didn't get funded in the LTP simply because there was no money, even though it was a good project. It could be something that didn't make the cut line in the asset management planning process. It could be that a need has been identified in one of our many strategic sort of studies around open spaces or facilities where there are gaps, but we haven't got the money to fill those gaps at the moment. So there has to be something rather than just literally ideas being plucked out of the proverbial blue sky. I think that's probably all I need to say by way of introduction, Madam Chair, other than to come back to the key point, which is this is really hopefully starting to encourage a new and fresher debate in the family around the way we need to start moving money around in the service portfolio rather than seeing as frozen in time.
Yep.
And it is actually quite empowering of local boards because, as I say, this is not intended to be something forced on local boards. It will be, obviously opportunities will be taken to them. They'll have some ideas themselves. So it will be done on a partnership basis rather than some forced basis. Happy to answer questions.
Great, thank you very much. Now I've got Councillor Penrose.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. So in short then, David, if for argument's sake a local board have a particular property that is ready for disposal, although some of these local boards like to hold on to them for forever, but if there was a need for another particular project within their area, there's the opportunity is to be able to move some funding. Provided the site they're talking about is a current service site.
Right. And there'll be a bit of a temptation to try and, you know, get other sites to help fund stuff, but we've somehow got to make the asset sales initiative work as well. So subject to it being a current funded service site, this idea is exactly what you're saying.
Cool, excellent.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cashmore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, David. I'm fully aware of the challenges you've been facing with the work you're doing. How do you see this working collaboratively or as part of the potential through the LTP process of we setting up the Auckland Development Agency or Development Auckland or whatever it potentially may be called? So there must be some very strong synergies, or one will be rolled into the other.
Yeah, this will simply become an initiative of Development Auckland, and we've socialised this fully with all the players in the council family.
Cool, thank you.
This will be an important future way that Development Auckland will get much more value out of the council's property asset, and open up development sites. That's where the pressure point is.
Yep.
Councillor Brewer, I can think of one in your area right now.
I can see, as far as slicing up some of this, if it's decided to slice up and invest somewhere else because it's suboptimal, that the sale of that agreed land with the local board and that might happen quite quickly, but the purchase of another piece might take some time. So I'm interested, David, just to, where does that money, the proceeds that we talk about, that, that get recycled, where does it get held? Is there like an acquisition fund where with the local board's name on it? So the local board, because they might sell quickly, but it might take 5 years to purchase again, and we have local boards being recycled and that. And so is there like an acquisition fund or a holding fund where they can see that they've got 5 million sitting there for a good decision in the future?
Yeah, we won't literally be a separate physical jam jar, but effectively the bookkeepers will have it, basically just keep scorecards on all this, and there will need to be, and we've acknowledged that, there will need to be quite a sophisticated record-keeping process around this, because the reality is exactly what you say. Most of these initiatives will take multi-years to implement from start to finish.
Yeah, and it would sit on that
It'll be a
balance
credit.
sheet
It'll
of
be,
ACIL or Auckland
well,
Development.
all the money will effectively be in cash terms with the council, but there'll be a credit kept in the most appropriate way of what local boards, initiatives are. So boards will build up credits and then they'll have deductions.
And that will sit completely aside from the LTP asset divestment program of 650 million over the next 10 years. That's
this is an initiative going on the side. So obviously we will, if boards sell properties in order to do a particular thing, that will be a commitment that's obviously going to be honoured.
And have you had any anecdotal feedback from boards, or have you yet to put it to them?
We've had some anecdotal feedback, and in fact some we've been informally sort of doing some numbers on and piloting, and that's given us confidence, more confidence if you like, about the opportunity here.
Yeah.
But I mean, you'll all be aware of things that I'm talking about in your own areas, I would imagine.
Yep.
There's enormous conservatism around releasing any property. Yep.
Yeah, sure.
And that's what we're trying to crack.
So David, do you see in the first instance that this will actually allow a local board who's got a project that they really want to do, that they can't, that, as you said, it's fallen off, that they could, if they actually found something that they could sell, they could put that money straight into that project?
Yes, that's
So,
right.
I mean, so what Cameron's saying may be further down the track, because in the interim, I'd imagine there are local boards who will say, great, this is a way to get X done now. So would that be how it works?
Yes, as long as they've got a credible set of offsets for it. But yes, it could be something that's not in the LTP at all, but went through a prioritising process.
Yeah.
It could be people going to the famous year 9 of LTP and bringing it forward. So it actually gets done in this triennium.
Right.
It could be, and this is a real example we've kind of got on the table as a bit of a guinea pig, it could be a local board have got, $3 million for something, and actually they want a facility that's going to cost $5.5 million. So where do they get the extra 2.5 from? So I see all those as possible scenarios.
Thank you. Councillor Casey.
I really support giving local boards the power over their own destiny in regards to placemaking, but my one fear, David, is that if you look at the local board input statement on page 21, which is paragraph 38, it reads, in the event that the proposed policy is approved, ACPL will undertake a significant engagement with local boards and that's the last bit that bothers me, to communicate the proposition and the benefits to local communities. I would kind of like that the other way around. So we're not communicating, they're telling us and you're bringing it to us with their support. So it's, we often get accused by the boards of exactly this. We make the decision and you go tell them.
Yeah, so look, it was a bit chicken and egg, Madam Chair, when we took some advice on which order we did it. The decision in the end was to come to this body first to get approval for what's effectively the change to the financial flows. Then we'll go to the board with the concept. But look, at the end of the day, each local board is going to have to make a call itself whether it goes with a particular project. So I don't think it's a big problem.
It would make me feel better, and I don't know how my colleagues feel, if we added the words in principle. So we support it in principle, and then you come back after your engagement with the boards, and then we take it off. That would be my thought, if anybody has a view on that.
I don't know the view of the meeting, but I mean, the thing is that we make the policy, so I mean, this is a policy that we're actually saying, hey, local boards, if you want to do this, do it, rather than in principle.
Okay, I'll move the recommendation.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. So, Councillor Quacks.
Yeah, thank you. No, I think there's pretty much a general agreement that this is a good idea, David. And I suppose it's been, I think you've alluded to this already, that it's been brought about because of the fact that local boards seem to be reluctant to see property sold in their area and then money go off elsewhere. And I suppose I have some in my area and Councillor Stewart's area where that has been evident. So, but in terms of any project that the local board come up with as a result of any property disposals, can you just let us know again what the procedure would be in order for them to then make sure that the project passes muster, passes scope, and is fit for purpose?
Yeah, so there'll be a process. Obviously, we're still working on this because there's a mountain of detail to be worked through but basically there'll be a process that we run, we being ACPL at the moment, later on Development Auckland, together with the relevant business unit of the council and the finance team, to validate, where that project has come from, to validate that the proposal is genuinely financially neutral. In other words, the offsets pay for what's wanted. So all those kind of things will be worked through. If it involves a sale of anything, including airspace, it's got to come back to this committee anyway, so there'll be a proper business case. There'll be a business case anyway, and really, you can, in principle, there'll be a sign-off from us, from the council finance team, and from the relevant business units in the council that are involved, with the assets.
Right, now I've got Councillor Darby, Taipari, Cooper and Watson.
I had my hand up very early on.
Okay, did you?
On successive occasions.
On the discussions we've been having lately, unless anybody is absolutely against it.
Got a question, Madam Chair.
Oh, okay, Councillor. Well, I'll take them all then. Councillor
I had
Darby.
my hand up right from the beginning as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I had a lot of people with hands up.
It's okay.
Councillor Darby.